What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. Interesting developments in the lightweight and junior welterweight division, which is two champions going back and forth with each other. Two champions who believe they're the clear A sides. Two champions that have been linked together for the last several years, and two champions that have fathers that train them, which would make for an epic pay-per-view clash. In one corner, you have former unified, in some people's eyes, or former undisputed in other people's eyes, Teofimo Lopez, aka Mr. Takeover. In an opposite corner, you have undisputed lightweight champion Devin the Dream Haney. Now, the WBA came out recently and ordered Arnold Barbosa, who's ranked number 1 in the WBA, to take on number 2 contender Jose Ramirez. As about a month ago, after he defeated Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez announced his retirement. The WBA said that you need to make that official. You need to put that in writing so we can push forward with a matchup featuring our number 1 and number 2 contenders for our vacant belt. You have 24 hours to make a decision, make your intentions known, and we'll then proceed forward. Teofimo Lopez, who at that point was telling everybody that he was a retired fighter. He was not happy with his contract with his promotional company, Top Rank. And he said that he had hung up his gloves and he was going to pursue other opportunities outside that square circle. But to the surprise of very few, including yours truly, he announced his intentions to indeed unretire and basically announced himself as an active WBA junior welterweight champion. Now, before all this came to fruition, undisputed lightweight champion Teofimo Lopez had a chance to petition the WBO to make him and put him in a slot to fight for the vacant belt versus number 1 contender Arnold Barbosa Jr. But he also wanted to give additional 24 hours just in case Teofimo Lopez announced that he was going to indeed proceed forward with defending his WBA belt. And that will set the stage for Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney. That's one of the biggest fights that can be made in the sport of boxing. These two combatants have been going back and forth on Twitter. Teofimo Lopez said one of the reasons why I did come out of brief retirement was I did not want Devin Haney to get a fight with sorry-ass Arnold Barbosa and again capitalize and pick up the pieces and come in through the back door, come in through the shadows and accomplish and make himself a bigger name and more accomplishments off the back of what I've already achieved. He didn't want that to happen. So he said, look, Devin Haney, let's make it happen. You know, I'm gonna expose you as the fraud that you is. You ain't no real champion. You an email champion at 135. The only reason why you became undisputed was because in first place, number 1 contender Vasily Lomachenko could not go forward with the fight because he wanted to go help his country fight in a war versus Russia. As Vasily Lomachenko was a Ukrainian citizen, that opened the door for you to slide in and fight for undisputed. Never mind the fact that Kambosos shouldn't even been in that position in the first place, as I fought him with an illness. I damn near died in the ring. It's amazing that I was able to make it through 12 rounds versus George Kambosos, who was number 1 in the WBO, as I was unified / undisputed champion at 135. He was able to capitalize off me staying at that weight class 1 fight too many, and then becoming undisputed when you defeated the guy that defeated me, George Kambosos. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But the thing I'm talking about, the thing I'm playing through my mind is, how are the negotiations are going to go between Teofimo Lopez, who believes he's A-side in this situation. He believes that Haney's going to be coming up to fight for his belt, so he's going to be wanting to call all the shots. And a guy that's been on pay-per-view, Devin the Dream Haney, and a guy that's undisputed at 135, a guy that's not fighting in a small room at Madison Square Garden like Teofimo Lopez did in this last fight, a guy that's fighting in huge arenas, a guy that went over to another country and fought in front of big crowds, second time in a tennis stadium, first time, if I'm not mistaken, in a soccer stadium. So he gained a lot of fans over there in Australia. So you talk about an international superstar in Devin Haney against a guy that has a name in boxing, make no mistake about it, but a guy that has not up to this point shown to be an attraction, has not shown to be a ticket seller, not shown to be a guy that produces great numbers, which would enable his promotional company to put him on pay-per-view. With all that being said, the negotiations are going to be hard to consummate a deal, in my opinion. As you'll have Devin Haney saying, look, I'm undisputed. I just got through coming off a successful pay-per-view. I did $150,000 versus Lomachenko. A lot of people thought it wasn't going to do that well. It was a sellout crowd. I'm definitely in the catbird seat. You, on the other hand, just got through fighting in a small room in Madison Square Garden. You fought in the theater. You didn't fight in a big room, Madison Square Garden. And you, my friend, according to you, made $1 million in your last fight. Me, on the other hand, made of millions of dollars in my last outing versus a pound-for-pound fighter in Vasil Lomachenko. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney, or Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez, A-side, B-side, that's always a lot of people like to debate that type of subject. Who is the A-side and who is the B-side? But the bottom line is the negotiations between Teofimo Lopez, if and when they transpire, is going to be a recipe for disaster. Don't see the fight happening. I think Teofimo Lopez is going to try to sun Devin Haney. Devin Haney ain't going to have it. Devin Haney bringing a lot to the table, coming off a pay-per-view that was successful versus Vasily Lomachenko. But he will be coming up in weight classes fighting for Teofimo Lopez. So Lopez will be the champion in this situation. But it's not like he's fighting some challenger. He's fighting a guy coming up from a weight class which he has shown to be the top dog in. So it's going to be some interesting negotiations. But I can hear by the way Teofimo Lopez is talking, saying, look here, I'm going to let you know about the location, and you're definitely going to be the B-side. And, you know, basically trying to sun him right off the bat. Before any real negotiations start, Teofimo Lopez is already talking like he's a clear A-side, and he's basically going to dictate the terms to Devin Haney. And that right there, as a starting point, is a recipe for disaster. I don't see this fight getting done unless you have a mediator come through, Top Rank Boxing, Bob Arum. They come in and they say, look here, both of you guys bring a lot to the table. We fighting for Teofimo Lopez's belt, so him being the champion defending this belt does bring something to the table. But on the other hand, you have Devin the Dream Haney, who's shown to be a star in the sport of boxing, coming off a successful pay-per-view versus Vasily Lomachenko, undisputed at 135. Both guys have a lot of quality wins, but when you look at what each fighter brings to the table economically wise, you would definitely have to favor Devin Haney. So Devin Haney has the advantage on his side as being the bigger draw, as being the bigger attraction. Teofimo Lopez, on the other hand, has the positive in his favor is that he is the champion and he will be defending his belt versus Devin Haney in a potential matchup. And he's a guy that defeated Vasily Lomachenko before Devin Haney defeated Vasily Lomachenko. Now he defeated Josh Taylor, who was the recognized #1 fighter in the junior welterweight division. So he's coming off 2 humongous wins as being the decided underdog. So he'll be able to bring that to the table. But the bottom line is boxing is a sport. They call it prize fighting. And if it ain't making dollars, it ain't making sense. So we'll see if negotiations lead to a deal. But based on what I'm hearing and based on what each guy is bringing to the table, and each guy feels that they should be the quote-unquote A side. I think Devin Haney wouldn't trip about being the B side, but he's not gonna be disrespected. He's not gonna take no 25% of the purse. He's not gonna take no 35% of the purse. No, maybe he might take 55, 45, maybe. He'll say, look, I'm fighting for your belt. I'll give you 55, 45. I want to get your ass in the ring. You know, you talking about you retired and now you're coming back and you wishy-washy, you're delusional. Let me just get your ass in the ring. I got the style that can beat you. Look at your fight with Sandor Martin. I'm 10 times better than Sandor Martin, but we have similar styles. So if he gave you a lot of trouble and in a lot of people's eyes beat you, just think of what I'm going to do. I'm going to wash you. So maybe he does take a little less than Teofimo Lopez. But there's no way in hell Teofimo Lopez is going to take less than Devin Haney. He's not going to do that. And I have a hard time believing he will be willing to take 50-50 with Devin Haney. He believes he is the A side. He believes that Devin Haney has gotten where he had strictly off his back. If it wasn't for him, Devin Haney would be some obscure contender trying to put himself in a position to fight for a world title. So we will see what happens. And we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe. Like, share, subscribe to JB Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.